All right. Welcome to Dual Redundancy, the only podcast
Turned web show.
turned ICTV show,
Turned blog.
turned back to a podcast where you can hear all the latest in television and entertainment news with two hosts with exactly the same opinions. I'm one of those hosts, David Allen, and the other one is...
Mike Ladue. I am the Huel to your QB on our giant pile of money.
Ooh, a giant... Hey, where's all this money coming in from, Mike? Did the podcast take off?
Oh yeah, it's taken off. It's we're above 68% now that we massacred all of our enemies. So now we're
good.
we're gonna be fine.
Oh man, that scene right there, man. I just wish I could be sitting on a bed full of money. Actually, this before I bring this up, what would you rather have, Mike? A bed full of money or a pool filled with money? What would you rather have?
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, I guess can you swim in money? I mean, the pool's bigger, so I mean, I guess I'm an idiot to not say the pool. So I guess I want the pool. I don't know why I had to think about that.
That's the correct answer, because I was thinking about it too. I'm like, what would I want? And then I instantly realized a bed of money. I don't think that would be very comfortable. But then a pool, I mean, yeah, you have the larger space, the money just going everywhere. You can just easily pull out one bill if you need it. You know, you don't have to go through that whole stack. You know, no one's going to have change at the gas station for a stack of $20,000 when you're buying a Kit Kat. So,
it's very specific.
Yeah, already we're getting into a tangent here. But welcome to the show. This is our Breaking Bad recap podcast where we break down some Breaking Bad on a bad podcast.
I'm doing karate chops because you're saying breaking so many times.
Yeah. Take.
You can't see it. If this was like a vidcast or a vlog, if it was that, you would see me going ham on some pillows.
A new rule for all the listeners is every time that we say breaking, you have to just throw up a karate chop. Yeah. Sound effects are optional, but. Yeah, so last week our podcast premiered for Blood Money there, and man, our ratings were huge, Mike. They were just like Breaking Bad's ratings.
Were they? Were they that big?
Well, maybe move the decimal places a couple.
Were they bigger than Talking Bads? Were they bigger than Low Winter Suns?
Maybe Low Winter Sun, but. Yeah, just take their ratings, move the decimal spot like 3 to the left, and that's probably our ratings.
3 to the left, that's not bad.
Yeah, well, I'm
that's
talking
high
about
praise.
I'm talking about like 3.2. So I'm talking like you have to move it like okay, too much math already. But
yeah, I'm done.
They were so huge, in fact, that our ratings that when they couldn't play the podcast because the site crashed, that people actually called the police, which they also did. I was reading today in Connecticut. Last night's cable went out in Connecticut, and they started calling the police around 9 o'clock for an emergency because they could not watch Breaking Bad. That's a true story.
That's valid. That's the most legitimate response I've ever had anyone call a police. Like, I would, like, if Survivor went out, like, you've seen me when Survivor goes out. When my DVD doesn't record, I start going hard. So I don't know how I would do without Breaking Bad, especially in this final season.
I think I still remember, I think it was in our Ithaca dorm room where, I think it was during season 4, it just paused when I think Gus Fring was getting shot at. And we were like,
that was crazy.
Yeah, we thought Vince was pulling our legs here. Like, oh man, this show's really moving slow tonight. And then I think we actually might have started emailing Time Warner, I think.
I probably had Time Warner on the line.
All right. But, man, we better jump into this episode because we got a lot to talk about in episode 510 or 602 or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it Buried because that's what Vince Gilligan wanted to call it. So,
good for him. I guess I trust him.
All right. I guess we'll go with it.
Okay.
Even though the episode starts off with Jesse taking a spin on a jungle gym here, we're actually going to start with the big story, I think, from last week. The big question, is Hank going to tread lightly with this information? And I think as soon as, Walt almost runs over that little boy's toy car in full panic mode, it looks like Hank is not treading lightly and goes right to Skyler. They meet up at the diner. and which leads me to my first question, Mike. This is getting me really worried about this diner scene. Skylar's going to maybe get some breakfast here. Where is Walter Jr.? Where is he?
Can I answer your question with a question?
Okay.
Am I under arrest? Am I under arrest?
Shut up! Shut up! That's what it reminded me of last night. It was like, we're going to hear this 30 times. Just like this season's shut up, I guess.
And then it was a hashtag, too.
Was it?
Yeah, that was like their hashtag. Hashtag, am I under arrest? Like, that was so stupid.
I mean, that'd be a good, I think if you click that, you'd see a lot of other people talking, not even about Breaking Bad. It's like...
what was there? Oh, your question was... where's Walter Jr.? I have no idea. Was he in the premiere?
I think he was in the premiere. I think he... See, this is where I'm going with this. I think in the premiere he said, can I get like a late curfew? I think he's meeting up with Lewis. What is Lewis and him doing with a late curfew? And I might be jumping really far here, but I was thinking about it today. Let's just say Lewis works, has a part-time job at like a company like Vamonos Pest, and they need a new worker because Todd pretty much shot up the entire cartel, or which we'll get to later. What if he gets Walter Jr. into the family business here?
I love it. I think he's been the mastermind behind this whole thing, and stuff's gonna get real.
I think something has to happen with him because, I mean, I'm trying to think, is there almost like a reason for his character? I know that sounds kind of rude, but like, I think everyone in Breaking Bad has a reason to be there. Marie is obviously the sister and the consoling person for Skyler, and the whole thing with Hank. Obviously, he has a reason. Everyone has a reason for them, except I can't find a reason for Junior, except for like, I got to provide money for my family.
That's
but
what it
technically,
is.
He could have been providing for, like a baby. Like when Vince was coming up with the family thing, he could have been for the baby, even for Skyler. I don't know. I'm hoping there's more to Walt Jr. than because I mean he's the only one right now that doesn't know what's going on. I think everyone knows, except maybe even Carol knows across the street, but I don't think Walt Jr. knows.
I think you need that character. I mean, you can't have a baby be disappointed. Like, the baby just got freaking almost stolen, and the baby doesn't know what the hell's going on. The baby will be fine. But Walter Jr., when he finds out, that's going to be devastating. I mean, even the scene a couple seasons ago with Walt talking to his son when Walt was, I don't remember if he was drunk or whatever happened, or just really tired, and he called him Jesse, and, like, you just see the disappointment. And plus, with his condition, it just adds this whole other level of sympathy, and... he's so fragile, and Walt has really just kind of destroyed everything. So that's and we got to have him called Flynn, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, do you want me to start calling you Flynn?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not that cool. I'm not as cool as Walter Jr.
Maybe someday, Mike. Someday. Okay, you sold me on Walt Jr. But to get back to the scene here, so they're at the diner, and I thought this was a great scene because I think each character pretty much didn't know what the other character knew. I mean, does Skyler, what does Hank actually know? Am I under arrest? Hank reveals the cancer to, that the cancer's back to Skyler. Like, what did you think of the scene? Because I thought, for the most part, Skyler was the MVP of this week's episode. Maybe last week was Hank. I think a lot was Anna Gunn's performance in this scene, and then the scene we'll talk about later, where she doesn't say too much, and it's just all in the face, and that acting, I think she did well. I
completely agree. Anna Gunn ran away with the episode this week. I think Betsy Brandt was also awesome in that scene you're talking about, but I got to give it to Anna Gunn this week. I really is she? Hank never said she wasn't under arrest. He definitely did not say anything, and I wonder if he's actually considering her to be an accomplice. I don't think he wants to, but you have to think, especially with the way she's been acting and not divulging any information, asking for a lawyer, he's got to have some red flags raised.
Yeah, if not that, just by saying, am I under arrest about 30 times, it's like, why do you think you're under arrest, Skyler? Like, have you done something that you have to tell me about? Like, I think, it's like, how are you going to play that? Like, he had the recording device out, like, she hasn't talked to Walt yet. What does Hank actually know? It's one of those things where it's like, well, you tell me what you know first, so I don't reveal what I actually know. And so, how would you actually go about doing that besides making a crazy panic attack kind of scene to get out of there? Because I don't know. I think she was really cornered in this.
Yeah, I don't even know why she went to him. I understand why she would take the call because she didn't know, but I would have definitely called Walt before doing anything. She's not a mastermind, and we've seen that, and she works well with Walt. I'm shocked that she didn't take his calls, that she didn't get off the phone, and that she just kind of submissively left, and maybe that's her way of wanting to get out. Maybe she's finally ready, but then the end of the episode we see she's not, and she still wants to keep quiet and help Walt. So I don't know. I think strategically, was it a great move for her? No, because she's not the one holding all the cards. She's just kind of the accomplice. Mm-hmm. So she probably should have let Walt do all the talking, and now hopefully it's gonna. I mean, it's already strained her relationship with Marie. And definitely her relationship with Hank, and maybe even relationship with baby Holly. That's kind of traumatizing. So
definitely.
Yeah, so I guess it's now her and Walt against the world.
Yeah. So speaking of Walt, when he couldn't get through to Skyler because she was talking to Hank, his next concern was the money, and as we were saying earlier, he sends Saul's two guys, to our classic comedic friends there to pick up the money, and then. He goes out and goes to bury it out in the middle of the desert, which I gotta commend Walt because, he's 51 years old. He just got beat up by Hank. He has cancer, and he's in the hot New Mexico desert. I can barely do a small trench, and I like to think I'm in pretty good shape. Yet he buries 6 or 7 giant barrels of money. Good for him.
I thought it was extremely, it was far-fetched.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad the way it ended was him just collapsing. Because he would. That would have had to happen. He's no Superman. And so I do commend his efforts, but I think it's, the show isn't really the most realistic show on television. Mm. And so I guess I can let it slide if I've let every other, crazy random happenstance slide in the past few years. But I think, and what did he do? He bought a lottery ticket, right? And that was his way of remembering, which is smart.
Yeah, I like that. And speaking of the lottery ticket, between that and then later we'll get to it with Lydia at a hatch, pretty much. I was getting Lost kind of flashbacks, and then I was on Twitter about an hour or two ago, and I see Damien Lindelof tweet something like. We got flash forwards, we got lottery tickets, and we got someone yelling Walt. Like, he's loving this season. We're getting a lot of Lost crossovers now.
So you think, now is it going to end the same way as Lost did? I don't want to spoil Lost for anyone, but do you think people are going to be as dissatisfied as they were with the Lost finale? Is it going to be more, emotionally satisfying in terms of characters, or is it going to be more satisfying in terms of plot and resolution and mystery? I mean, there really is no mystery left to Breaking Bad, so it's just plot. Like what would be more satisfying to you? Seeing the characters being more realized, or the plot, or do you think they're going to nail both?
I'm knocking on wood right now. I think they're going to nail both. We have 6 episodes left. To compare it to other shows in their final seasons, or even the season before, they were completely off the rails. And so far, this train of the Breaking Bad has been on the rails. It's been, great up until this point. I think they have just a little bit more stretch to go, and I think they're going to be able to stick the landing or get really close. We were talking about Dexter earlier. I think we were saying Dexter went off season 5 off the rails, and now it's in the ocean where it is. Like, it's just completely off, and there's not even a chance for it to, in these last 4 episodes or whatever it is, for it to even get close to being what it was. So I think we're on the right path, and I'm going to put my faith in Vince, and hopefully he'll finish this strong here.
I agree.
All right, so I'm gonna go back because we're talking about with Skyler, and then talking with Marie afterwards. So Marie visits the house with Hank not too far in the driveway, and she doesn't say a word, but Marie pieces everything together just from reading her face, like. The gambling addiction, being a cover, even to Hank's shooting, that they knew about that before it was happening, and I thought there was a lot of kind of interesting callbacks to this in the scene. Some small little nods where, like, last week's there was a punch from Hank to Walt. This week we got Marie finally just slapping Skyler, which, where was that slap when she was doing the shut up thing, last season? We could just slap her a few times, been like, okay, we get it,
Right.
And then her shoplifting came back and trying to steal
the
baby Holly. Was that a good plan, you think, Mike, just to try to steal a kid? And even though maybe Skyler's not, a bad person, I think kidnapping is also not that good either.
I mean, yeah, I can't fault Marie for trying to do that. She knows, the household, the environment that what's going on, and she knows if Skyler was in on it, Walt was in on it, she's going to do whatever she can. She's the loving sister, for all her faults. But I was kind of surprised with her self-awareness in that scene, with maybe not, but with her awareness, and then I was very surprised with Walt's self-awareness in the entire episode. For him to say, like, you keep the money, if not, this is all for nothing. Like, I feel like I've discredited him a lot in recent seasons, that he's lost sight of that, that he's kind of, given his all into, being the big bad Heisenberg. And I feel like it's bringing him down a couple pegs, and it's kind of making me like him, but it's almost making me disappointed, because I just want to see him crash and burn, and I guess he's not as heartless as I thought.
Yeah, I mean, that brings up a good point. I was going to talk about that, where I thought, the scene was almost like a way for us to re-sympathize with a villain, like, it's almost like, this whole time everyone's like, okay, we want to see Walt, be punished or die or whatever, and now this is almost like Vince kind of like opening up, like, the book, dusting it back off. He's like, but his reasonings, like, back in season 1 were pretty good, and he is, trying to provide a better life for his family and stuff, so it's like, it almost made us try to, like, he's dying on the floor pretty much, in the bathroom, like he was when he passed out in season 1. Like, it was like another scene to kind of make us feel bad for him again, and kind of make it a little like, well, now do we really want that? So I think it opens up a lot more possibilities.
Yeah, I think it's too little, too late though. Like, he wasn't saying this before Hank knew, So maybe that's the other thing too. Maybe now that he's caught, it's easy for him to say, "Oh, this is all I ever wanted. I only wanted to do this for family." Yeah. Whereas before, when he was when he was riding high, then there were no consequences.
I mean, it opens up a lot of things. And speaking of, I'm going to go back a little bit, but this opens up a conspiracy theory that I've been reading about, people talking about. So Murray, obviously, we've talked about plenty of times. She's worn purple in about every single scene on Breaking Bad ever. Supposedly, I missed this originally, but I went back and looked. At the end of 508, last year's finale, and the beginning of this year's, which, I mean, a scene carried over, right. She's actually wearing a bright yellow blouse, completely opposite end of the spectrum of purple. And now there's two different things people are thinking it could be, and I like the former better. The first one is yellow. The bright yellow is supposed to symbolize caution, and possibly suggesting, for Hank to take caution. This is like his warning sign, with Walt, because it was that scene where he found out. It's like, warning, warning. So like maybe either Marie is, going to end up dead, or I think more realistically, is going to be Hank. Now, in the episode, we saw him talking to Saul and was like, he's family, I can't do that. But, I mean, Walt's broken his code plenty of times before.
Right.
And Hank did mention in this premiere last week, he doesn't give, a crap about family. So, do you think Walter's going to, attempt to kill Hank, make him take a trip to, was it Belize?
Belize, yeah.
I just love when Walter was like saying it to Saul. I was like, "Why don't you take a trip to Belize?"
Yeah, and which that could be foreshadowing too. I'll send you to Belize, and it could be. And that's another thing. Like, I think Walt should have caught on to that by now. Like that Belize thing. Like, it was painfully obvious what Saul was trying to say, and Walt's like, Belize. Like, I don't know. It seems. His mojo is gone. Like, everything that was Heisenberg, it seems like, is gone right now. He's, I would never expect him to say, oh, Hank's family. Like, I didn't think he had it in him. and it almost seems uncharacteristic. I don't know if it definitely is, but I think he's going to have to come after Hank. I mean, now with what Hank's doing, I think no more half measures. This is it.
Yeah,
this is the end time. So it's Hank or it's Walt at this point.
Yeah, and I almost like to say what you were going with here. I think Walter was on his throne, almost like he built this house of cards to steal a title from another show, and by Hank finding out, he pulled one of these cards out, and now it's just like Walter just struggling to he's back to like what he was, back at the bottom, back on the floor. He's just like okay, like I'm doing this for the family, his family. I can't do that. Like he's like almost back to his season one. Like it's like a revert, like
yeah.
So that was the one theory. The other theory is a lot smaller, and I hope this isn't it, but who knows? The opposite theory is when yellow symbolizes like spring and rebirth, and they think maybe Marie is like pregnant, especially with all the talk with like prenatal like vitamins. Like I think that's what they were discussing with Skylar at that barbecue or whatever. So like, do you think it's possible that maybe Marie is pregnant, and if so, like does that have any like, is that going to do anything for like these last 6 episodes? Is that going to be like a major plot or anything important, or is it just kind of like Marie might be pregnant? Like is that like maybe a reason why Walt won't kill her if he has to? Like,
I think I think it's huge, and I think if it is true, I'd never thought of that, but I think that sounds pretty awesome. And if it is true, killing, there's killing a man on TV, there's killing a woman on TV, and then there's killing a pregnant woman on TV.
And that's just...
And, and that's, very few shows go there, and when they do, it's, it's, Game of Thrones, don't want to spoil, but they've gone there, and it's just insane. And so, I could see Breaking Bad going there, and, what if he goes in, kills Hank, has the gun on Marie, she says, I'm pregnant, boom, what are you going to do? And he still does it, like... That would just be horrifying.
That's the final straw,
Horrifying, but it's possible. And like they pay so much attention to color on this show. She's always been purple. My theory, I don't remember if I ever said on the podcast, but I know I blogged about it last year, is that she's going to get strangled and her face is going to turn purple, and like that's how she'll die by some type of strangling. And so her final resting place will be purple.
I love that theory. I remember you were telling us about, or at least told me about that, and I really hope there's something to the color thing. Like I don't need like a giant thing to this, because I even was reading somewhere with like Jesse Pinkman. He would always have red. His car was red. His hat was red. It was like he was red, and then he got introduced to Walter White. And then he, red and white obviously is pink. So maybe he like when he was a criminal he was red, and then when he got introduced to Walter White and they had their adventures for the last 5 seasons, he's kind of like, I'm out of this game, I'm out of drug dealing, I just want a simple life almost with, Brock and stuff. Like, he just doesn't want it anymore. So is that kind of like the reason why his name's Pinkman, or are we just looking way too into this?
Yeah, I think, colors, I think it's an easy, it's production-wise, it's good, to give each character their color so it's not too overlapping, but... I think when it's all said and done, we're going to find out that there was a lot of hidden meaning that people didn't pick up on that they intended. And, that's what I can't wait for, like, the tell-all book. Vince Gilligan's, like, awesome companion piece to Breaking Bad, where he's just like, here's all the cool stuff that I had planned. Because I'm sure he's got it all there.
Yeah, definitely. Having it all there, I'm going to go back to our Lost thing that we're talking about, because at some points people think Lost didn't have it all there, but when Lydia goes into the hatch looking for Desmond or whatever she was looking for down there, and she hears the massacre of people dying up there. At first I thought it was the cartel or whatever it was killing the people that showed up, the problem, but it was actually the opposite. They were all gone, and it looks like Todd, it was at least part of it. It was his crew, the possibly Vamonos Pest and his family or friends or whatever. Now, what do you think this means, and does it like have anything, with Walter coming up? Now that it looks like that whole side of the business is gone, it looks like Vamonos Pest is going to be number one, like, for the area. What do you think that has to do with these last 6 episodes?
Yeah, I'm not sure how they're going to tie it all together. I feel like there's enough meat in 6 episodes between Walt, Hank, Maurice, Skylar, Jesse, Walter Jr. to not even incorporate Todd, Lydia, and the meth. Like, I feel like we've already moved past that, but the fact that they're still bringing it up, I mean, it interests me, but for me, the gun, brawl and everybody dying was one of the least interesting parts of the episode because it wasn't focused on Walt. And so I don't completely know how it's going to connect yet. I mean, I feel like, are they going to try and just kidnap Walt and force him to do some stuff? But Todd supposedly knows everything. I don't know. I don't know where it's going. Honestly, what do you think?
I don't know. I'd like to. I hope it has some connection with Walt, because like I don't want this to be like a Dexter side plot of like, it's not as bad as this, but like Batista opening up a restaurant, like that has nothing to do with the main characters. Like maybe possibly obviously like the quality of the meth went down, but like with Todd it was slightly better, even though I guess he was starting fires in the kitchen and stuff with it. Like maybe like the Blue now is a big resurgence because of him taking over. Like it's their group now that's in charge, so maybe something to do with like another red flag, like a clue, like maybe they slip up now and that will lead it back to Walt somehow. I don't, like just something where like now, because they're the head honchos, they're the empire now, if they make a mistake, because they're going to be under a magnifying glass, if there's just one small thing that Hank can attach to, whether it be, whoever, when they rented out the building, or if they're using the building, if they see Mike Hermantraut's name, Jesse Pinkman's name, or like hat or something he left behind that could lead to Walter, like just, I think there's going to be something, like another clue maybe for Hank, another nail in the coffin with this.
That's a really good point. I like that. Or, as you're saying that, it makes me think, or maybe their Walt's get out of jail free card. Maybe he can find a way to spin it, to pin it all on Lydia and Todd, and somehow escape unscathed. I mean, it doesn't seem like that based on all the Heisenberg stuff we've seen, but that could be another possibility. Maybe that maybe the Wrightson is for Lydia and Todd, who come and ruin his life, and maybe it's not for Jesse or Skylar.
Yeah, maybe he just can spin it where it's like, this at least season 4, where it's like, oh, I had to, like, Gus said he was going to kill my entire family, and I was only doing it for that reason. And then the next season's like, well, after Gus was gone, I just took him out to, to be safe and to get out of the business. But then Lydia and Madrigal started, like, threatening me, and like maybe he can just keep like saying like. He started just in the beginning, like in his little RV, and then he realized, okay, I don't want to do this. Like he shows him like the tape, if I'm sure he destroyed that, but like he's like, oh no, like in the beginning, he was just fooling around, but then he got mixed up with some, there's some street thugs, and it was just, oh, I got to do all this stuff, or they're gonna hurt me, and like maybe he can try to spin it that way, but I think he's gonna need a good lawyer, a criminal lawyer, to spin all that.
Yeah, well, he's got one. He's got the best in the biz.
Okay. But I think we could finally now go, Walt's done for this week. Let's talk about Jesse Pinkman. So in the beginning of the episode, we see him throwing the money around from last week. And even though he only gave, like he saw that one homeless man at first, he only gave him a stack, he didn't give him the whole thing of money. It ended up being that one guy was finding it anyways and getting pretty much all the money, and finds Jesse at the playground, and next thing you know, it looks like he's arrested or being questioned about having, $2.5 million or whatever in a duffel bag. And then obviously Hank comes in to interrogate him, and then that was it. That was the end of the episode. What do you think's going to happen now? Is Jesse going to like let anything slip? What's this going to mean for Hank? Is he going to get anything out of Jesse?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I just want to see, how it all happens. I bet Jesse will rat. But I could see Jesse ratting. I could see Jesse not ratting, and I think that's a testament to the show and how these characters aren't predictable and they're not one-dimensional. They're they have conflicting motivations at all times, and they're fully realize it. And there's Jesse hates Walt, but he also it's the closest thing he's probably ever had to a father. So where does he lie? And he hates Hank, but now he's got this whole justice, wanting to do good. So it's really it's got the two angels on each of his shoulders, the angel and the devil on his shoulders. And if I knew how it was going to happen, then this wouldn't be Breaking Bad. And which that's the best part.
Yeah.
It's I'm going to tune in and be shocked every single scene.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Jesse thinks, by turning Walt in, by turning this criminal mastermind in, that's kind of like a weight off his shoulders, like almost, like some justice, at least he did some good, or even turning himself in. But, I was trying to think if, Hank has figured out a lot with, you blew up a nursing home, you knew about the shooters, you killed 10 people in prison, in 2 minutes. I try to think if he said anything about Brock or Jane, but I couldn't find any.
If Hank said anything or if Walt said anything?
If Hank or has known any, because I rewatched the ending last scene last week when Hank punches Walt to see what else he was saying, because he was listing off reasons, you did this, you did that, you did this, and I was trying to see. I rewatched it to see if he just mentioned, you poisoned a kid or you
I don't
did
think
this,
he ever
and he didn't.
knew that. No,
So
but that was never on the record. The only person who ever knew that was Walt.
So that's
and Saul. So Saul's going to have to spill somehow.
Because that's what I was thinking. My original thought was that he was going to, if he did know that, hypothetically he knew that, and he let that as a bargaining chip. He said that to Jesse, and then Jesse's is pissed, and he just starts. Okay, yes, it was Walter White. He lives here. He just goes on a rampage after he finds that out. But as I watch the scene, he doesn't know that. So I guess that theory's already thrown out the window. But,
I don't know what kind of leverage that Hank is really going to have. But we've already seen a scene with Hank, getting nothing out of Skylar, and we already know that they plan to lie low. So maybe Jesse is going to talk. Maybe we know Jesse doesn't trust Mr. White. He knows that Mike's in Belize. He knows what's up, I think. And now, I if I had to put money on it, I'd say Jesse's going to give up some critical piece of information, but probably unwillingly or unknowingly, should I say?
Yeah, because I was going to say, I'm looking ahead to next week's episode title, and I think it's Confessions.
Ooh. Is it Confessions Part 2, like the Usher song?
It's actually Confessions, trapped in the bathroom.
Trapped in the bathroom? Yeah. Trapped in the storage locker.
There you go. But that's next week, Mike, and I think that's going to conclude this week's episode, this Breaking Bad breakdown on a bad podcast. I'm liking this title that we came up with here. But, we got to make sure you're following for all the latest in entertainment television news, including Breaking Bad, on social media, Facebook and Twitter at Dual Redundancy. The blogs, there's been a lot of recaps on that. We're going to have a recap of Who Done It finale. That was last night. Make sure you follow that, dualredundancy.blogspot.com. And then even our YouTube page, which I had to dust the videos off, Mike, because we're getting some old videos back on there, some old interviews from when we did the Ithaca College television show with those professors. We're getting things back up there for you guys to enjoy and rewind to. I was actually listening to some of this stuff myself this weekend as I was uploading them, and there was.
Does it hold up?
There's some things. There's some things that we're talking about that, unfortunately, a lot of writers let us down with, and then there's other things that we nailed spot on.
Like what?
Well, we predicted your Price is Right win.
Forgot about that.
A whole year ahead of time. But then, just to go on the opposite side of the spectrum, we all thought that Lewis Green on Dexter, the intern, was going to hold big promise and bring the downfall of Dexter. And I think within probably 2 or 3 episodes after we said that, we have never heard from him again. So we're about 50-50. How's that?
I like it. Good movie.
There you go. So yeah, that's youtube.com/Dual Redundancy. And I want to make sure we thank him this week. I completely forgot last week, and I feel bad about it. John Berwick.
John!
Thank you so much for doing this still. We're not even in school anymore. He's not doing this for ICTV. He's doing this just
because he's
out of his free
man.
time. You know, we couldn't do this out without him, especially now that I'm on one side of the country and Mike's on the other. Without John putting this together every week, this wouldn't be happening. So thank you, John.
John, you're the best around, and nothing will ever bring you down or keep you down. What's the line? Nothing will ever break you down? What's the line?
Nothing will ever break you.
Or is it bring?
Let's say it's break because it's a Breaking Bad podcast.
Okay.
Maybe that's a...
But I don't think that's it. Oh, it's going to bug me. I have to go look it up.
All right. Well, if you know what it is, folks, tweet us at Dual Redundancy. But until next week, please come back and join us, because if not, I think maybe we'll send him on a trip to Belize. What do you think of that, Mike?
We're sending John on a trip to Belize?
No, not John. We need John for the podcast. We're going to send the listeners one by one to Belize if they don't listen. That's
okay.
That's our bargaining chip there.
By the way, I just looked it up, and it's keep you down.
All right, there you go. That's why it's all the latest in television entertainment news.
Breaking news.
One at a time. One song lyric at a time. All right, that's all I got, Mike.
Same. I'm freaking singing Karate Kid.
How about you sing us out? Sing us out, Mike. That's how we'll end it this week.
I don't know the words. You're the best around. Nothing gonna ever keep you down.
All right, that's it, everybody. Thank you. See you next week. Okay, so I hit stop.
Oh, I have to do that. Stopping.